I'm Nicholas Matthews, and I'm here today to teach you how to long jump. First things first, you need to warm up. I don't recommend doing any long jumping or any physical activity without warming up. This is because your muscles are kind of like rubber bands. If you take a cold rubber band out of the freezer and try to pull it and stretch it, it's going to break apart. You want your muscles to be warm like a normal rubber band would, and that allows it to stretch with whatever activity you're doing. Okay, after you've warmed up, the first step in the long jumping process is to find your mark. That is where you're going to start your run from, which will basically be you running from that mark to the white line, which will you jump off of into the pit. To find your mark, it's best to get the person that's helping you to watch your steps, and about your sixth stride, you want to mark that place. Depending, you can have a longer run up to the long jumping pit, but for beginners it's best to start with shorter distances. So pick a distance, maybe 6 strides, and mark off the 6th stride starting from the white line that you take. And it's important while you're doing this to be sprinting. Okay, now as you'll see in the example, you're really just running through to find your mark, but then after that you're going to need to see how accurate your mark is. You're going to start at your mark and run a sprint towards the pit, and it's important to be consistent because you want to be as close as you can to the white line without going past it. That way you can get the furthest jump possible. Because if you jump past the white line, then it's a scratch, and if in any competition it won't count. And basically when you're doing the run through, you're just starting at the place where you found your mark and running towards the pit. And what you don't want to jump or anything, you're just running and making sure your mark is good. After that, you're going to want to do some drills to help you, especially if you're a beginner, work on your takeoff and landing, because those are obviously the most important parts of the long jump. The first drill that you can use is a simple drill where you're just jumping up, starting at one of the furthest back white lines, and your last jump you'll jump into the pit, as you'll see in the example. And basically with this just helping you to take off properly, you want to burst off the line when you're doing your actual long jump, so you want to practice that motion. And you also want to practice bringing your arm around from its position at the stride right before the jump. So when you're doing your last stride and you're jumping off, you're bringing your hand back around you and over you, and that helps in the actual jumping process, as I'll explain in a moment. Another drill is using the cones, and that once again helps you with the takeoff, because the takeoff is probably one of the most important parts, because you're trying to get a lot of height while maintaining your momentum in the air to maximize your jumping distance. Finally, you can do a landing drill. And when you're landing, it's important to have your legs out in front of you, and you're trying to keep momentum going forward, because if you fall backwards, then where you fall backwards is going to shorten your distance of the jump significantly. So in order to avoid that, you want to keep your momentum going forward. And even in the drill this is really emphasized because you're jumping and keeping your arms back in front of you. And while you do lean back in the drill, this is to help you with not going too far forward, because as I'm about to show a diagram, while you're jumping in the air, if you continue with the revolution your body is taking, the front of your body will come forward and your legs will hit the ground sooner than they normally would have, which will shorten your jump. But if you bring your arms out in front of you to slow that revolution and keep your legs in front of you, you'll be able to maximize your jump and slow down that revolution of your body forward. But it's important to maintain the momentum in the air so you're still going forward. Finally, it's time to put it all together and do the actual long jumping. As I said earlier, it's important to be sprinting because you want to be going as fast as possible. Also, in the takeoff, you're going to be exploding off of that line to create as much height in addition to the momentum you've created by sprinting. You want to then bring your legs out in front of you and bring your arms around and over your head, as I mentioned, and then make them in front of you too, and bring them down as you're completing the jump. And once again, don't fall backwards. You want to keep going forward as much as possible, so once you land, you want to try to continue that momentum going forward so you don't fall backwards and shorten the distance of your jump.
Okay, so here's a simple diagram to show the process. You're running forward, you're jumping, and as your body is in the air and your head comes forward, the momentum, your body is revolving in the air, and your legs will come down sooner than you would want, and that will shorten the distance of your jump. However, if you are able to maintain that momentum in the air, it brings your arms up and around over your head, and really emphasize your legs out in front of your body, then that will slow the revolution of your body, and you'll still have that momentum so that when your legs hit the ground, it'll be much farther down the pit than before if your legs came straight down while in midair.